Hi, I'm Bybreen and welcome back to another episode of Soul Stirring Astrology, where I give you my textured take on the world of astrology. Well, hello for the first time in 2017. I haven't been able to give you my textured take over the last 3 weeks because I've been dealing with the bereavement of an old friend who sadly died of a stroke and then a brain hemorrhage, and it was just really terrible. So I've been in that space of reflection. But here I am. Ready to move forward again, as they say, as we are about to approach this new moon in Aquarius that takes place in a few days' time on January the 28th. So we have the sun and the moon in Aquarius, and interestingly the sun moved into Aquarius on January the 20th, which is the day, as we all know, that Donald Trump took power in America, the day of the inauguration. Now, generally speaking, Aquarius is about the collective mind, the collective will, improving the life and qualities and living standards for people around us. So, you can reflect on, if you watch the inaugural speech, whether you feel that Donald Trump represents the Aquarian tendencies. So you can reflect on that if you so choose. On a personal level, this is quite an interesting new moon because the Aquarian energy is around being open, being receptive, connecting with other people. It's about the quirkiness of the collective mind. But you've got this Aquarian energy that's juxtaposed with the moon energy, and the lunar energy is about pulling into oneself, reflecting on the past and being quite territorial in the space. And so where you've got the new moon and the moon is in Aquarius, it's not the best place for this new moon. And one of the reasons is that you may feel some level of overwhelm from the outside world, given that the moon is so insular and Aquarius is so external. So it's about how you are able to balance these things. Another representation of this new moon is how you're able to balance the feminine and the masculine within your psyche. Also how you're able to relate to the other sex. So this new moon is a time, as you know, for new moons, is where before you plant the new seeds, it's about how you start raking over the earth, pulling up those weeds, making sure that everything's clean and clear and the earth is ready to receive these new seeds. Now, with this new moon, it's also been supported along this theme of fathers and the father line and father expectations and father legacy. Because what we've got also is we've got Saturn, and Saturn is squaring Chiron. So Saturn's in Sagittarius and Chiron is in Pisces. And so when we're dealing with this new moon, what we're looking at is, are you following unconsciously or consciously the kind of ideals and expectations of your father? And this new moon is now enabling you to reflect on what that relationship has meant for you in your life. So on a personal level, where we have this sense of father figure, so we've got the sun there with the new moon, but we've also got Saturn squaring Chiron. So you may have experienced your father, or the relationship may have been one whereby there's been some wounding to your own virility because your father might have been physically weak or mentally weak and needed caring for, and so therefore you felt wounded around what does power look like. It could alternatively, it could be that you were brought up in quite an austere, authoritative, restrictive environment, and so therefore you felt constrained around what your virility could look like, how you could exercise your own power. This new moon is inviting you to pull up those weeds before you plant the new seeds of your new identity. Continuing with this kind of paternal line, looking at it from an ancestral point of view, what legacies are you living out unconsciously that have come down through the father side of your family. So it could be a great time when you're exploring your family tree. And what you're looking for here are sort of life patterns and psychological attributes or characteristics that you have absorbed and imbibed over the years, being around obviously your father or male figures that are significant in your life. This time for the new moon, though, is about examining, because don't forget, Aquarius is around the higher mind, and Aquarius is being ruled by Uranus, which is equally about the reflection of your higher mind. What is it that your higher mind is calling you to grow into? But in order for you to do this, you've got to be looking at this relationship with your father. One of the things that can happen is that when you rebel and reject the father expectations and you run off into the world, if you haven't dealt with it, what you're going to find is that you continually meet father figures. So, for us as women, it could be about relationships, the types of relationships we have with men. Do they reflect our fathers? Are we trying to unconsciously live out our father's expectations? So as much as that we want to be our own person, unconsciously we could be living out, the will of the father as a way to redeem him. In terms of men and their relationship with fathers, it's about, your sense of maleness, masculinity. Is it self-defined, or is it that you've just been taking on the yoke and the armour of what your father has passed down to you from what was passed down from your grandfather? This new moon is a wonderful time for you to be reflecting on all of this. Also, we have Mercury, and Mercury is conjuncting Pluto, and they're squaring Uranus. And so here we have Mercury and Pluto, so it's about the deep thinking around these issues of the past. This sense of legacy, and what does it mean, and how has it aided you, or how has it intruded, interrupted, undermined your sense of yourself? And because it's Mercury's there with Pluto, Pluto is about severing from the past. It's about regenerating. So it's a powerful time for you to bring your mercurial powers and sensitivities and awareness to this issue of power, how you've derived it, how you choose to now cultivate it in the future, and also how you begin to reclaim the power that may have been projected onto the male figures in your world. Now, if you resist this, the potential here is that you're not going to be able to benefit from the wonderful freedom and individuality that Uranus is pulling you towards, because it's squaring Mercury and Pluto, and Uranus rules Aquarius. And so it's all feeding into this sense of, your sort of identity, but you can only arrive at it before, and you can't arrive at it until you've done this deep soul-searching work, reflected on it, and then come up with your master plan. If you're able to flow with it and you've come up with your master plan, then the square between Mercury, Pluto and Uranus won't feel as burdensome. You'll be able to deal with the unexpected changes that come into your life. Now, whether you choose to go with them or not is more based upon how secure you feel within yourself. This is a really powerful time in terms of reframing, rethinking, re-articulating your sense of individuality, virility, energy, personal power. How are you using your personal power in the world? Do you know how to reclaim your personal power? That's what this new moon in Aquarius is inviting you to do. And as I said, it's been reflected again because we have Saturn, and Saturn is squaring Chiron. And Chiron here is about dealing with the wounds from the past, breaking free. You've got Saturn, which is very structured and boundaried, and we've got Chiron, which is about, the softness and the areas of sensitivity. So it's about breaking down those areas that are holding you back so that you can connect with what is truly meaningful to you, what you feel sensitive about. But also we have Venus, and Venus is conjuncting Chiron, and so it's a time where the sensitivity around what you truly value is desperate to break out. you know, you want to be reflecting on what brings you pleasure, what you desire, what is meaningful to you, how you're able to transform this pain. So you're moving away from being the victim where everything happens to you to being the victor. And you're surrounded by this new moon, you have Mercury and Pluto, and then if you deal with this Saturn square Chiron, you're free. So that brings me to the quote of the day, and the quote of the day is by Rollo May, and what he said is, one of the best things that we can do is to find that element of centeredness within ourselves, because once we're able to do this, this will be the greatest gift we're able to give to our fellow man. So just think about that. What is going to enable you to ground yourself? Then you can give the gifts, and that then reflects this new moon that you can then start planting those seeds. And so the question of the day is, what is it that you're still carrying from your father line, your paternal line, that might be undermining this potential for this new identity? What is it that you're still carrying on, the practices, the rituals that may not be serving you as you try to break out into this new identity? As always, I do love connecting with you. Please, please, please put your answers and comments in the comment box below. Feel free to share this with anyone in your network. You can like and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next episode. Bye bye.